Here we are, Parsha B'Shlach, and we're getting ready for Tu B'Shvat. This is like a very exciting Parsha. And also it's a very, so much is going on in this Parsha of emotions. I mean, I feel like this crescendo, and this is the Parsha of Shir. It's Shir, it's song, and you have these crescendos and this ups and downs, and we're seeing how this symphony, this orchestra that Hashem lays out for us, and are all the instruments going to play their parts. It's very, as each year could come, and I will read this, and my heart is still, not to mention the fact that you could say this every single day, the Shira, and yet it's like standing up, the Shimoshet, right? So it's a very exciting Parsha, and I wanted to start with the very beginning of it. What happens? Which I was a little bit you're just reading it at face value, and you're like, you really? This is so interesting, because their very first words is that Paro is the one who sent us out. Meaning, it says it, Bishlach Paro etam, right? He sent them out. So he did something there, and I'm wondering, does that mean that at any stage in life, you never know? You think that no, it's that person's heart is so hardened. But even in that place where you think there's no bechira, what's interesting is he did send them out. Hashem could have made him die in the last plague. He was a firstborn, and it wasn't him actually sending them out, right? So that's actually, I find that very hopeful. And then what happens, though? And why does he send them out? And where does he send them to? So the Torah makes it very clear to us that they were sent, and then they go out. And in what way does Hashem send them? He does not send them the quick and easy way, derech haplishtim, right? Which is the derech hakarov, it's the close one. And he says, why? Because, I'm afraid, basically, that they're going to regret, and they're going to be worried, and they're going to return to Mitzrayim, right? So then when it says, and then we have, okay, if I go the quick way, I'm going to go back to my slavery, my suffering. And then there's this word, v'yasev Elokim et ha'am, derech hamidbar. Asev is a sivuv. He made them do a very big circle, or it was like a U, I think. It was like a chet kind of thing. Meaning I could have gone very quickly, directly, right there, and it would have been there. And yet Hashem took me, and he makes me go on this talich, on this process that seems like I'm like a dreidel being spun by Hashem all the time, dreidel, dreidel, dreidel. And where am I dropping? Is it just this random thing I'm dropping on some letter? Why do I have to go on all these people? Also in our lives, these repeated patterns that we have, these behavioral patterns, these dynamics, these family patterns. We get into something, we have the fight, and then, and we feel like we're back in the same place, and where do we really go, and do we go anywhere? And are we just going around? Are we just taking this long? And why does life also have to be something that Hashem, I have to learn so many lessons in order to get to where you want me to go? So I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to see if we remember the story it was now 3.5 weeks ago. And Monday, I had a couple weeks ago on a Tuesday, I realized I had lost my Teudat Zehut, my identity card, and my driver's license. The following week on a Tuesday, I had an appointment at the Mizrah Pinim, right, the Minister of Interior, whatever it's called, in order to get a new ID. And it was raining that day, pouring, cold. I'm standing in the Rekevet HaKala, the train, 10 minutes, getting soaked. I arrived at the Mizrah Pinim, and I'm being told that I can't get it because why? I didn't bring my passport. And I'm like, I didn't know about the passport. He's like, don't you follow the directions? I'm like, I didn't even know there was instructions, let alone follow directions or instructions. Schlepping back home, and a whole hour and a half of a sivuv was and I didn't even get there. And then later on explains about that day also that I was being screamed at in the supermarket by a woman, and then later my next door neighbor, and this happening, that happening, all these things happening, and my electricity was the climactic mode was the electricity also blowing up in the nighttime. So that was an interesting day. I learned a lot of lessons about judging, about not judging, about that I'm not in control. And then fast forward, I had made an appointment again for the Mizrah Pinim for this Monday. So it was 2 weeks later. And okay, so I have in mind on Monday, I'm going to the Mizrah Pinim, and I'm going to pay the 140 shekels for and I also schlep there and everything. And then on Sunday, in the afternoon, it was quite a pretty day. There was sun, So I said to my two little ones, let's go to the park. We're going to go to the park. Now they wanted to go to a further park. And I said, okay, let's go. I said, fine, get your everything. The one has the roller skates. She's getting excited. It's sunny out. And we're on our way to and we're about to leave our home. And then there's the neighbor, right? And she starts the knocking. But she didn't knock yet, but I could see she was about to come knocking. I don't know how, you just know these things. She opens her door. I know I open my door. So I turned to her, the neighbor, and I said, Safta. I said, come with us to the park. Let's go to the park together. So she got right. She was like, okay, let's go. She got excited. Let's go. Let's do it. It was beautiful. I said, it's sunny out. It's nice out. Let's go to the park. So I told my kids, look, I know you want to go to that further park, but now we're going with Safta, and we're going to go just across the street to the one right in front of our home in Shausen. So we go sit in the park. We're there, as though I have nothing to do all day long, any day in my wonderfully non-boring and non-hectic schedule. So we're sitting in the park with the Safta, and then we're there a little bit, and she's like, you know what, I'm getting cold. So she says, I'm going to go back. So I said, okay, you go back. And then I said to the kids, now we can go to the further park. Okay, so this is a journey. This is Sunday. This is a journey. We go to the further park, and we're there, and they're playing. They're very happy. It's very nice. It's very sunny. And then all of a sudden I see there's a text. Someone says, does anyone have Tilim? Can I borrow anyone's Tilim that's divided? Mechulak, the Tilim. And I was like, oh, I have one. So I texted the woman and I said, you can borrow from me. She says, great, can I come right now and get it? And I was like, well, I'm not home, but when I get home, I'll give it to you. So she's like, no, but I have to catch a bus. I have to be there. And I said to her, okay, let me see if I can hurry my situation here. So I said to my two little ones, we just did a chesed, we took the Safta to the park. And now guess what? Mitzvah, goek mitzvah, we get to do another chesed. Can we leave now and go back? Now, mind you, we'd already been out for a good over hour plus, right? It wasn't like I was leaving us after we'd just gone to the park. And we had two adventures of going to two parks, right? So they were actually quite happy to agree. Let's go back. We were talking about, okay, now we get to do another chesed. And mind you, I then had put away my phone. I'm not looking at anything. I don't know what's going on. And as we're walking, as we're walking by, now, I have a supermarket that's like 2 buildings down from me, right? I'm always in that supermarket for one. It's the milk or the eggs or I don't know what. It's not my one that I do my big shoppings at, but it's very convenient. It's next door. And everyone knows me in the supermarket. I know everyone's name who works in the supermarket. And they all know my children. Someone's going into the supermarket, they know us. So I'm walking by and there's the 2 cashiers who are waiting for their bus. At that exact moment that I said, let's go do another chesed and we're leaving the park, we're walking by. And mind you, this is already 3 weeks from when I had even lost my Teudat Zut, and I looked everywhere in Harnof, and I gone to this other super everywhere, right? I'm walking by, and one of the cashiers yells at me, really kind of yells. She's like, "Why haven't you come for your Teudat Zut? It's in the Kupat HaReshit. It's in the front. It's in the head cashier." And I'm like, "What? Why haven't I come for my Teudat Zut?" I'm like, I can't believe it. It's there. I didn't even know I lost it there. She's like, yeah, and she's like, it's been there the whole time. Okay, now mind you, this is 2 doors down from my home. Hashem, why in these 3 weeks did no one say to me, your Teudat Zut's right there. Anytime you stop me in the supermarket, why in that moment when they're waiting for the bus, it finally comes to her, and I have to be walking on my way from one mitzvah to do another mitzvah. So I was so excited. I'm like, okay, quick, let's run into the supermarket and get my Teudat Zut. I run into the supermarket and there's my Teudat Zut in the Kupat HaReshit. We walk out. We run into a friend who I hadn't seen in a while. She just moved to Harnof. I really haven't seen her, and I kind of forgot she was even here. Great, invite her for a Shabbos. We go another 2 steps, and all of a sudden a car is pulling out, and it's someone who has had a bag in his car for over a year. That's mine, right? And he's like, I was driving around with it thinking I'm going to see you, and I never see you. In that moment, he hands me the bag. We get into our home, and guess what? I finally open up, and I see that the woman said, actually, I got it from somewhere else. I don't even need the Tilim anymore from you. So then I think to myself, okay, Ribon Shalom, you let me go all the way downtown on the day of the rain and get soaked. And you wanted to teach me the lesson of being makabel, of being receptive, and of being okay. It doesn't have to go according to my plan. You wanted me to come back, so I was already in a mood of realizing that things are not going to go according to my plan. So when I go to the supermarket and someone screams and yells at me that I'm a terrible mother and my daughter has a code and I'm an evil person, I was able to actually stay calm in that situation. Even though you might think that you keep adding things on, you're going to get more and more dysregulated. But when we look at life with an Emunah lens, that the more and more I'm seeing you, then they'll actually know everything that's happening to me is not going to cause what I'm in a frenzy. It's the opposite. Then do you realize that whole entire thing? Do you realize the dancing me and my little kids did when we were jumping up and down? We finally had a Teudat Zut and we were saying Hod L'Shem Tov and Mizmorota. Would I really have been doing that if I found it the 2 seconds afterwards and machpatli, really, it's just a Teudat Zut, it's just your identity card. But the fact that I went through all this and then I had to make another appointment and waiting another, and it was the day before that I was going to go again. Hashem saved me from not schlepping, not paying 140 shekels. But that would never have been so sweet and so beautiful if I had not done this whole sivuv. So now we get to the Am Yisrael. And Hashem says to them, it's not just that I'm sending you derech haplishtim, because you're going to see bones. Midrash says, of Shevet Ephraim, and or Manasseh, it's going to scare you, Ephraim. It's going to scare you, and you're going to be scared, and you see all these bones of people that tried to escape Mitzrayim before, and they couldn't get out, and then you're going to turn back. He was saying, if you don't learn in life, sometimes we go through things in order to be resilient, in order to build up our appreciation, our gratitude, our love, in order for me to show you more of me in your life, then the short way is going to be a very long way. And the long way is actually going to be a very short way. And it's like, it happens to us so often. Why do we have to go through what we go through? If for 1 second, and when we stop to think that there's not a reason and purpose behind it, we drown. And the moment we can just keep going, all right, let me go on this path that you're taking me on, Hashem, not the one I chose for myself. I started a new journey in my life of something. And I started a master's. And it's like, okay, I'm 47 years old. I have a full-time job plus another job. I'm a full-time mom. And I'm deciding that now is the best time of my life. And I wanted to do this around 15, 16, 20 years ago. But now Hashem wanted me to go through so many sivums, take so many different courses, know so many people, have such an appreciation for different things to make sure that, no, this is the right time right now, that maybe I'm going to let you go on this journey also. Who knows what Hashem wants from me. But all the time we think, why couldn't it happen a different way or back then? Imagine someone's dating somebody, they break up, and then 4 years later they actually meet again and they get married. And they're like, I don't understand it. Why do we just waste that time? Do you realize what happens? You never know why. Maybe Hashem had there was a gezerah, there was a deed. And during those 3 years, if you had been together, you would have actually broken up because you would have had the resilience to deal with different things, or you would have had to suffer some kind of, not to suffer, but you would have had to go through something that would have been so difficult for you that now this weight is actually going to make that marriage so much sweeter. You're going to be two different people that will build a beautiful home together. So why didn't you meet then in that other situation, that other time? Why didn't the baby come then in the moment that you wanted and then you had to wait so many the years? Why? All these whys? It's because Hashem wants us to have Kiryat Yam Suf. He wants us to get to a place where we are singing, actually. The song did not come when they left Egypt. I thought it was so interesting to me. Why didn't they sing when they left? Isn't that a reason to sing? Go out of Pesach, start singing Hallel. We do it. Why didn't they do it then? Why didn't they sing Hallel when they went out? Why this whole thing of then again having something come after them? There's always a reason for everything, and it's to get to us, Am Yisrael, to understand that we are in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Anachnu b'yadayim shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the best place to be. It's the calmest place to be. And we're just being hugged with him along the journey. So we're traveling, right? And we're going this long way in order to get there. And then what is fascinating to me also is that the whole way that they were traveling those days, there was this pillar, a cloud, this anei kavod that was protecting them, giving them light, giving them protection from the wind, giving protection from the sun. It wasn't that they were also exposed. It's just it says it in the Torah. They really, the whole time, if a person wants to tap into that Hashem is surrounding me and protecting me, it's there. It says it's there. And yet what happens? All of a sudden they arrive and Paro starts then. He's like, wait a minute, I chose to let them go out. And now I'm going back to my old ways. Which that in itself is the worst slavery. Who's the slave? Who's the master? Who's the slave? A person who's like, no. Everything that just happened to me didn't mean anything. I'm going back to the way I was before. That was Paro. And also Am Yisrael did the same thing, I'm going to tell you. And in fact, when we got to that moment, we started saying, oh my gosh, they're chasing after us. There's wild animals to my right, wild animals to my left, the raging sea in front of me, and the Egyptians are behind me. There's nothing to do. There's absolutely nothing to do. And one might say, no, but they did daven. I don't know. Were they screaming because they were frustrated and they were angry and they felt like, why in this world is this happening to me? Is that called davening? Maybe. It is a form of communication, maybe. Or were they actually davening and saying, Hashem, I know you can take care of the situation. It doesn't sound like you're from the Pesukim. It sounds more like they weren't davening to Hashem, as though you are the ultimate being who can take care of me and will solve my situation. It was one more of, I'm not getting what I want and I'm angry. And the way I deal with things when I don't get what I want angry is, let's go back to Mitzrayim. Let's forget about this. I just got in a fight with you. There's no other way of fixing the fight, solving, problem solving, coming up with coming to understand you more, changing myself. I'm going to deal with it the same way I've been dealing with it before. We're going back to Mitzrayim. And they're standing there. And I do this, I've done this so many times in my life where I just fall into my repeated patterns. I'll go back to the way it was before. We just went through something difficult, and I'll just go back to, though, because that's the safest place to be, actually, in some ways. But it's also the most dangerous place to be, It's the most shaky place to be. So they're standing there. Paro is also going back to his ways of chasing after them. And also, it's very interesting, as the Midrash brings, right, this whole discussion going on in Shemayim. The angels. What are the angels saying right now? Because Hashem is telling Moshe, tell them, I'm going to save them, basically. He has that whole. But the angels are saying, I don't get it. They served idols, Avodah Zarah, and they also are doing Avodah Zarah. What's the difference? Why? Why are you saving Am Yisrael? Now, I want to pause for a moment, and this is a very profound, really, really, whoa kind of idea. Wait a minute, where were they doing Avodah Zarah, though? I'm sorry. They took the little sheep, lamb. They didn't worship it. They ate it. It doesn't say anywhere. I don't see anywhere where they were worshiping idols. Okay, I'm not saying maybe they were, I don't know, but it doesn't say like the Egyptians. They weren't even really doing any kind of witchcraft or magic things going on here. I mean, saying they weren't doing anything. It sounds like they were slaves. They didn't have time to worship idols.
In the Midrashim, it says the angels
said that they were yes.
The Am Yisrael was doing Avodah Zarah.
It said they're Avdei Avodah Zarah, and they're also Avdei Avodah Zarah. Mm-hmm. Why are you saving them? What's the difference between them and them? Mm-hmm. Why? So here's the most powerful thing that I heard from Moshe Boyer, is that what's the Avodah Zarah that the Am Yisrael was?
They got angry.
Was that they were afraid of the Egyptians. If I'm afraid of my master, if I have a fear, that means I just attributed power to this who has control over me. Mm. That means all my fears, my worries, and my anxieties in my life, the things that are really bringing me away from Hashem, is Avodah Zarah. It could also be my fear, and so I have to make more money because it's not going to happen. Meaning all the things in life that take me away from Hashem is called Avodah Zarah. And it's like, whoa, And at that moment, so what is the message that Hashem is giving through Moshe to them?
And anger normally comes from
anger
fear.
For sure is called Avodah Zarah. Why? Because I don't have control, so I'm giving control to my anger.
But it's usually a secondary emotion to fear.
For sure secondary emotion to fear, to frustration, to it's always I'm not in control.
Right.
But it's not that I'm not in control, because also controlling, you want to be in control of Avodah Zarah, by the way.
Right.
It's that I'm not attributing to this to Hashem. Mm. Everything, I had so many interesting interactions with my teenagers this week, and not just teenagers, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there were not teenagers also, where it's like you feel almost like you're being whiplashed in like not what just happened here. Like you're like, whoa, like I mean, just the most all of a sudden, like very random comments, or even just like with one like to take shopping, and then it was just a weird interaction, not finding it, like all these things that happen, right? And you're like, where did that come from? And all you want to, you're like angry, you're like feeling angry because I'm thinking it came from that person. I don't realize it came from a Kadosh Baruch who's putting me in a situation. Even if it's a 2-year-old having a tantrum, I'm blaming the 2-year-old for the tantrum. I'm not talking about not doing chinuch. You have to take care of the problem, or the situation, I should say. But the moment I'm getting upset about it is because I'm giving my power over to this, and not to Hashem. That Hashem right now is putting me through a test. I have to remain calm. I have to figure out how to chinuch this child, how to give a message over of how to be respectful, or whatever. The weather. How many people this week, I've talked to so many people, whether it's in Texas or New York, wherever, in Texas, they're like iced in. I'm like, what do you mean you're iced? You're snowed? No, she's like, we're not snowed in, we're iced in. I'm like, what does that mean? It means we can't drive because there's ice. It's like icy. And we don't have we don't know how to do this. So we're like iced in. She's like, like people can't, there's no school because we're iced in. It's like also here in Israel, right? When there's like a little, like prediction that maybe maybe a snowflake will be snowed in. So what is it saying? But it's like really attributing it's the ice that's not making me stay home. I can't work, or my kids can't go to school. No, it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu who sent the ice. The reason why I'm home right now. That's Avodah Zarah, though. It's saying it's the ice. It's the weather.
It's like the dog that gets angry at the stick.
It's the dog, exactly. It's the dog that gets angry at the stick instead of the person behind, right? And it's always like a Baruch Hu behind everything. But then what I think this is such a good tool I hope to give over, which is very practical, I think also, even though, is that what is the instructions that Moshe is telling Am Yisrael? First of all, we are being told by Hashem and by Moshe, okay, now is not the time to pray. There's something else that needs to be done right now, actually. And what is it? He says, just, first of all, actually stand. Stand still. Atzuv, like itzivut, like meaning that you're in a position where you're standing, calm, no motion. What happens when we get very excited, we're angry, we're frustrated, we're like all over the place. We start moving our, I even in a happy way, I start moving my hands when I talk, I'm like that, right? Right now, just stand still. Why? Because now is the time to understand you always, the keys of self-regulation when we're having a wave of emotions and fears and everything is controlling us but ourselves, is we're not still actually. Finding menucha nefesh is finding the stillness inside the storm. Because I can't stop this situation happening necessarily, but I can find my calmness. I have to calm my central nervous system. Moshe was actually telling them something very, very, is calm your central nervous system. Stand still for a minute. And then you can take a deep breath. And then we're gonna tell you what to do next. But I can't move forward in my life. I can't even daven to Hashem and tap up into dot. To daven is dot. I mean awareness that not screaming at someone is not dot. Screaming at Hashem is not dot. But to awareness, Hashem, even when I'm crying, maybe I am screaming that Hashem, I know it's only you and you can help me and I'm relying on you and you're my one and only, source of everything. And Abba Mamale, take care of me. That still is dot, right? Screaming is not dot necessarily. So what did Moshe said, okay, stand. Just calm yourself. Regulate yourself. Everyone can always say, well, how do you do that when you're in the midst of a rage? Or you're in the midst of the panic attack? I think it has to be practice. How is it that you scream every time you're in a rage? Because you got into a habit of screaming. And it takes 30 days to form a habit. It'll take 30 days to break from the habit. Why is it that halacha says for 30 days you have to make sure, if you didn't say the right bracha, go back from a shiva ruach or marita tal? Because it takes 30 days, the way our brain is actually wired. This is science now, but it's Torah, it's chokhmah. That 30 days it takes me to wire myself. So every time then that I've even taught my little kids how to take a breath. I'll be like, first, I'll be like, I can't understand you talking too fast. I'll tell them. I'm like, and I'll see them, now they know, and then they'll start again. It's an amazing thing. You can actually teach it to a 3-year-old. You can I don't know if you can teach it to a 1.5-year-old. You can teach it to a 3-year-old. You can teach it to a 4-year-old. You can teach it to a 30-year-old. You could probably teach it to an 80-year-old if they wanted to learn. You can teach it to yourself. You stop. Because when I'm in so much panic and I'm so worried, I'm attributing everything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I can't even tap into you, Hashem. And I need to find menucha. What is mifuzal? When you're mifuzal nefesh, you're all over the place also. You need to figure out, even when a person needs to make a decision, they're forgetting that Hashem is running it. It's okay, sweetie. It'll be okay because Hashem is going to decide ultimately for you. But how do I decide? Take a deep breath and just figure out what is your 1 or 2 wants right now, not 20. And then go in a direction and let Hashem save you. Let him take care of it, really. So they did this. They did it because they were told to do it. I'm guessing they did it because they would never have been able to go for it if they didn't. But at that moment also, I want you to know something which is incredible, is I heard in the Midrash that Nachshon actually had a brother. And the brother was told to go first and he couldn't. And then why am I telling you this? Because you never hear about the brother because he didn't go first. He wasn't able to go in.
He was told by who?
He's the one who should go first. It was like a known thing. His name was Gershom also. He was supposed to go first, and in the end, it brings me. This is Rappan Midrash, and Nachshon's the one who did it, which is just an interesting thing. Also, like, not to say I should do something because that's going to be what's recorded, but I want you to know that sometimes we're being told to do something. And we do miss our opportunities, which you do have to take. That's what I meant. I'm not saying that someone's going to take your spot because that's impossible. But you could lose out on something by being so dysregulated and not tapped in. There are beautiful moments that you could spend with your child of teaching them. Hashem will provide you other moments, and in the end, you went through also. You messed up. It's fine. There's another time. But also, don't lose sight of that. Isn't a moment. Right now is a moment that I can learn and I can go forward and I can do something right now. Not the next time, even though we need the next time always, but right now, right? So they go, and also something that's very interesting is that when we're talking about avodah zarah and what were the Egyptians worshiping and why do they have to be masters and why do they need these slaves? They had just seen so many miracles Hashem did for them. Between everything from blood to frogs to kinim, to the lice, to the wild animals, to the pestilence, to the boils, to the darkness, everything's going on here to killing the firstborn. Why do I still need to chase after you? So it's brought down by Moshe Boya that they say, right, that they worshipped. Why was it so important that we didn't it was a very big statement we did. We didn't just have a Korban Pesach. We did 4 days of little sheep, lamb bowing outside the door. And as I mentioned last time, there was a big mango, it was a big barbecue. The whole world smelled it. Like what's
bleeding?
There was
bleeding.
They were
That's
bleeding.
the
Yeah,
sound.
they were like, what is going on there, right? And this is a wild thing about to say is that it's an animal that doesn't. It's hefker. It doesn't. It's ownerless, and the shepherd is its owner, but it doesn't care in itself. It just will wander anywhere, and it doesn't have any goals
Loyalty.
except no loyalty, no. Even though the shepherd might have to look for it, it'll just wander off. And what were the Egyptian society is like? I just want you to do for me. A master of a slave doesn't want to have to do anything. I don't have to make decisions. I don't want to have to decide. I don't have to take any action in my life. Neither that I'm choosing to be guided, I'm saying, or choosing to lead. Just hefker. And it's the opposite of what Am Yisrael is about. We are a nation that it's always about choice. It's always about tapping into what am I supposed to be doing and when, and what is my responsibility. And right now, this very moment of critical Emunah, they were actually told to do a shteldas. Stop davening and jump in. It means I'm not just blindly following something. It's not blind. But what I will tell you is that it's not logical. And that's a difference. And why am I telling you this? Because I get into a lot of discussions, and I know that everyone wants proof. But Paro had proof, and so did the whole entire world that there was a God. You cannot take away those 10 plagues. You can't take away that he saw the sea splitting in front of them. And yet, all Paro then saw was nature. I see it split 12. Okay, there's 12 candle. There's 12, different shvilim, what's this? Pathways. The whole entire sea split open. It's not God. It's just nature. I'm just gonna go like a sheep. Everything's ownerless. There's no owner here. There's no actual real shepherd. There's nothing. There's no shayachut to anything. Emunah is, I do have to make a plunge. And I have to go beyond logic. It's not nature. It's a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's actually so illogical not to believe in God. I actually think the opposite. I actually think it's the most illogical thing is not to believe in God. But every day we fall into the trap of not believing in Hashem. Every single day we go through these things, how would my life have been different if I had passed that whole entire thing that happened to me, walking by the two cashiers, they told me, and I didn't see Hashem in the picture. How sad is my life versus how happy is my life living one where I get to open my eyes, every single day we should be davening, Hashem, open my eyes to your hashgacha practice and to see you. Because a person can live life where they see the sea splitting in front of them and they think it's not God, right? And then we do it ourselves all the time. And I want to tell you something so beautiful about this, about the sea splitting. And the Midrash brings that it wasn't just one, it was 12. Each tribe went through its own pathway. I thought that's so beautiful. Why? Because we also have to understand, and please listen to this carefully, that everyone has their own pathway of Emunah. Meaning, don't feel like another person is inspired by listening to a shir, one person is inspired maybe by saying Tehillim, another person is inspired by watching the sunset. I don't know. A person, don't think that there is only one path to Emunah. You have your own individual way, your neshama, and just like also the fruits we mentioned that, in Tu B'Shvat we eat all these fruits, and why does this one fruit taste good to me and this other fruit doesn't? It's because my nefesh, my neshama, my being has to do with tikkun with this fruit, and therefore it's going to taste good to me and this one not. We each have our own path to Emunah. We have to also understand our children and those around us will each have their own path to Emunah. You might be so excited to share something. I do this a lot. I overshare a little bit with my children about some Emunah, hashgacha practice that happened to me, and they're not so excited, It's okay. It doesn't mean they lack. Doesn't mean they have more or less than me, actually, either. It just means they're looking at life in a different way, in a different connected way. And I have to appreciate that. And I have to know that I also at times will go through different paths in my lives where I'm connected to one thing more than the other. But please, just take the plunge and jump. It really is. The more that we're plunging into Emunah, then Hashem opens up for us. That wasn't the other way around. That first he opened up and then we went in. It was really the person had to first start jumping into Emunah and then Hashem opens up. You believe, and I thought to myself also, I had 2 things returned to me this past month, crazy, that really I thought were gone, really gone. You should just also know in my life, I remember once I lost a Tehillim, and all it said on it was Ima. So it wasn't like my name or anything, it just says Ima on it. Years later, it appeared in our home, behind, stuck, I don't know what happened with Pesach cleaning, but completely totally behind the Sifriya, that it was jammed in there. How is it possible you can find things that you literally thought were lost? Do you realize your neshama is never lost? You just have to keep searching for it. Your relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, your closeness, never stop searching. You daven to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and you think that was a waste. I just gave it to that guy, I said, Zechut Rabbi Baranes, and it didn't happen. But if you believe it could happen, You believe it can happen? I'm telling you, you could be standing in front of a raging sea. To your right, there's wild animals. To your left, there's wild animals. The Egyptians are running behind you. You feel like there's no way except to go back to my same patterns and my same thing, and we're never going to change. And then all of a sudden, the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm splitting the sea open for you, but please, you must have Emunah. It's all about Emunah. And Emunah is a journey, and I think we see that also with this week's Parsha. And the sheer of Emunah is one. Of every time that something happens to us where we feel connected to Kadosh Baruch Hu, please take the opportunity and sing to Him. Even if you don't think you're a singer and you don't like to sing. I'm sure a lot of times people don't like to sing because maybe they don't feel good at singing. But what I mean by singing is some kind of emotional expression of closeness. Excuse me. So that's where the song comes from. The song comes from Emunah. Thank you. Which they had here that they didn't have the same way before. Because also, thank you so much. And they tell you what I think that sometimes where Emunah lacks the most is that we just don't think Hashem loves us and He cares about us. So you're standing there and you're like, you're sending me another, and it's so hard for me, Hashem. Or it's so hard for me to believe in this person also, have Emunah in them, that that they could change, because I see it happening over and over again. And what we have to do there also is we have to have Emunah that we can have Emunah, if that makes sense. We have to daven to Kadosh Baruch Hu, can I please, Hashem, help me have Emunah in you? This is really hard for me right now. Help me to want Emunah. Help me to love Emunah. Help me to connect to my Emunah. Help me to live a life of Emunah, a life of song. And of course, Miriam, I have to put this in, our beautiful Miriam, whose name is Mal, which means bitter, and Yam, the song. She always had this where she's bringing already the tambourines or she's bringing the drums with her. Why? Because it's a woman who knows that I can start off my life with bitterness and slavery. And I can see a vision of the sea. I can see us dancing. I'm already going to bring it. I actually told one of my students this week, go out and buy the talit. Just buy it for the khatan. I don't know what's going to happen. Just buy it. Buy it. How many stories have I heard about it? Buy the agala. Buy this. Buy that. Buy the container and it'll be filled. What does he say? What does Elisha say? Go get the container. We're going to fill it up with oil. How? I don't know. That's up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Go. Buy it. Do it. Just start walking. And how do they walk? Which is also very powerful. It kept saying they walked in the water, b'yabasha. Meaning there's this element as I'm walking into water that's dry. Mm-hmm. The moment I walk into Emunah, into Chesed, also I really believe in the Zechut that I help the Safta. Really, she's giving, I think I'm helping her, she's helping me. Because she gives me such Yeshuot by me doing the Chesed. She's doing me Chesed, I get to do her Chesed. Mm-hmm. I'm walking into water, sometimes I feel a little bit drowned by the situation. And what does Hashem do? He carries me out to dry lands. Just throw yourselves into Chesed. Sometimes we get so caught up in ourselves. And I know you might be thinking, wait a minute, I'm a mommy, I'm 24 hours doing Chesed. Don't tell me you want to do more Chesed. Well, maybe start seeing it as chesed, mm-hmm. and stop seeing it like you're not, either this is a slavery I can't deal with. Start seeing your life as one. I'm doing chesed. Hashem's going to open this for me. He's going to make it easier for me also. I can't walk through the water of my chesed that I'm doing. But Hashem, I want so much to give to my children. I want my home to be beautiful and warm, and help me. Make it dry. Make it easy for me to walk. Show me my path also of doing this, and not her path or the other one's path or the neighbor's path. I don't want to compete with them. I want my own path of Emunah, of doing the chesed, of connecting to you, living with Torah. Let it be dry for me, because sometimes it's not so easy. Even raising children. I'm like, wow, we don't just have to worry about getting them up in the morning brushing their teeth. I have to worry if they have nitilat yadayim. Do they say Modayani? Are they, and are they dressed? It's like emotional, physical, mental. Nowadays, every kind of health you could possibly imagine, and it's all on me? No, it's all on you, Hashem. I'm just the junior partner here. I'm the babysitter, actually. I say I'm the babysitter. Mm-hmm. I'm the babysitter. I'm just going to throw myself into chesed all day long. I'm going to do chesed, connecting to that, I'm doing chesed, and you're going to make it easy for me, Hashem. Without Hashem. Throwing ourselves into the sea, understanding that Miriam, she goes there already with her tambourine. She's dancing. She has a Emunah to know that I can't see it right now. It's going to happen. And I do want to just finally, we're going to end with two small things later on in the Parsha. We have our famous man. It's also a Segula this week to say Parshat Man, which I actually did not get to. And I just said to myself, okay, I don't have time for this, Hashem. I only rely on you for Parnasa. And that's the biggest Segula that there is. And it really is. And what's the concept of the man also is that, I just think it's like, whoa, what a test. I can't save over anything for tomorrow, that I have to live in the present. There's nothing more Emunah, bitachon, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu than living right now. That means only what right now I can handle, and what you give me every morning. Again, I say you give me everything I need. What if I don't feel like you're giving me everything that I need? He's telling you, no, in this second, you have everything your neshama needs. What you need, the portion that you needed today, The exact measurement, you take more, no, you're not going to get. You take less, I'm going to provide for you, don't worry. You want to leave over, it's going to rot. Except for one day where we picked double was on Friday for Shabbos. Why? Because when I'm working towards Shabbos, which is connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, there you can expand more. There you can take more. There, just jump more. Go a little bit more. Take more in and understand. Like, that's also a huge test, not to work on Shabbos, to know that the 2 is going to be left over and it's okay. It's a huge test of Emunah, of connection. And then lastly, we see that also though, and this was actually before with the bitter water, is the right, and Amalek is our last, how we part the Parsha in Safek and doubt. To remind us that we all go through cycles in life. You will go through your highs when you're singing and you're tapping into Emunah, and you're going to go, you feel tired and worn out, and when we're exhausted physically and emotionally, we feel like what we're doing has no purpose, that we're being taken advantage of. I even have said, I feel like a shmata. I've said those words. I feel like a dish rag. Mm-hmm. And after I said it, I was actually embarrassed by it. Because I'm not a shmata. I'm not hefker. I make choices in my life. I choose to do chesed. I choose my life. I choose connection. And so the moment I'm choosing this, Amalek can't, there's no doubt. And I go back to the shir, which we say every single day. B'ezrat Hashem, Shabbat Shalom.